Welcome to day 2 of this fabulous From the Inside Out event. Thank you so much for joining me. So today we're going to talk about emotions and the function of emotions and the role. So sometimes we think about emotions and we think, I just want to feel happiness. I want to feel love. I want to feel joy. But you can keep those messy ones. You can keep sadness. You can keep frustration. You can keep anger. I don't want to feel those ones, just the happy ones. But the thing about emotions is there's no way for us to stamp out those messy ones without also stamping out the happy ones. We kind of have to feel them all. We can't just feel the ones that we want and not feel the other ones. We can't feel joy without going through pain. We can't experience love without going through heartbreak. And we also know that pain is an inevitable part of life, but suffering is optional. And so when we take a look at emotions, even messy ones, they have a role and there's a purpose and there's a function for emotions. The first function, the first thing emotions do is they can communicate to other people and they can influence other people's behaviors. And so what I mean about that is we communicate how we feel about something either verbally by telling you I feel a certain way or I'm happy or I'm sad. But we also communicate non-verbally through our body language, our facial expressions. We communicate how we're feeling to other people. And that communication influences other people's behaviors. It elicits an automatic response from other people. So an example would be like if I'm sitting and I would rather watch Game of Thrones instead of football, but we're sitting watching football and I'm annoyed, but I don't want to say anything. So I sit there and I'm frowning and I'm watching and I'm not saying anything. And then my husband turns and looks and asks, are you okay? So that emotional communication elicited a response of him asking if I'm okay. So emotions can influence other people and it's almost automatic. So like if I'm crying, most of the time people will stop and ask, are you okay? Or ask to give me a hug. So emotions communicate and influence, but they also organize and motivate us to take action. So while they also communicate and influence other people, they also communicate and influence ourselves. So they organize us and move us to take action. So an example of that is a lot of times when an event happens, we automatically feel a certain way based off of whatever is going on. So like let's say a kid is walking across the street and a car is coming. And my initial response is fear because, oh my gosh, that kid's going to get hit. And I yell out, watch out. So that initial fear prompts me to take action. Another thing where emotions can organize and motivate you to take action is when you lose a loved one. Sometimes when you lose somebody that's close to you, it makes you reevaluate your life and your priorities and you take action. It makes you think, okay, we don't have a lot of time and so I need to do something. So that emotional response to the event, which is automatic, prompts you to take action. Another thing emotions can do is emotions can be self-validating. So what I mean about that is emotions can tell us about what's going on in our environment. So we take a lot of information and a lot of times we feel an emotion before we think about a situation. And that feeling tells us what's true in an environment. So an example would be if I'm walking down the street and I turn and I walk down a dark alley and I'm by myself, that initial anxiety and that initial fear tells me this situation is not safe. So it tells me what's true about the environment, and then it influences behavior, which is the second point. But the thing about emotions is sometimes they tell us about a belief about a situation that may not be true. So we have the tendency to lean on our feelings. So I feel a certain way, and because I feel that way, that must be true. And so what an example of that would be when I was about to launch this Fabulous from the Inside Out thing. I'm really excited about it, but really, if I'm honest, I had a lot of fear, and I had this insecurity and this really this sense of vulnerability. I thought, you know, who do you think you are? You're not a makeup artist. You're going to talk about makeup. Like, nobody wants to hear about what you have to say. So that emotion told me this is going to fail. So if I had trusted and just let myself be led by emotions, it can sometimes lead you down a different path. And so not all the time are emotions telling you what's really going on in the situation. And so sometimes emotions validate your belief about a situation, even though it may not be true. And so we know that with emotions, they do a lot of different things. And so they communicate and they influence other people's behaviors. They prompt us to take action. They sometimes validate our thoughts about a situation. And we know that pain is an inevitable part of life, but suffering is optional. And so over the next few days, we'll talk about how emotions influence our behaviors and how we can let go of suffering, so we can let go of perfection, we can let go of striving, so we can take a look and appreciate that emotions, even the messy emotions, have a function and they have a purpose. But we're going to learn also how to let go. We're going to learn how to choose to do something different. We're going to let go of suffering. We're going to let go of striving. And we're going to embrace our most authentic selves. The next video, we will talk about how our thoughts influence us. So stay tuned and we will talk a little bit more. Thank you.